Hello, my name is Robert Patrick. I'm the author of Kennedy's Children, and I want to thank all of you for choosing this play to attend, and I want to thank the producers for choosing it to produce. I'm going to tell you how Kennedy's Children came to be. Throughout the 1960s in New York, I and my friends were extremely active in politics, protest, and especially in the production of new plays in New York's underground or off-Broadway theaters. In the 1970s, I was still very active in producing plays. One day, I was out postering, as usual, for a new play of mine in 1973. I was out putting up posters all over with Scotch tape and wheat paste, and I went into a bar very popular with the off-Broadway set called Phoebe's. There it is. I put up my poster in Phoebe's, and then I noticed that a few friends of mine were in there in the afternoon, in the semi-darkness, each sitting alone at the bar or at a table or at a booth. Now this was very unusual for these people whom I knew as active, aggressive, creative people to be sitting in a bar on an afternoon all alone. I greeted them and received only the most curt responses, even dismissals. And this was curious, so I went and sat at the bar and had a Coke and watched them. And I couldn't believe they were just sitting doing nothing. And then I realized they weren't doing nothing. They were doing a great many things. They were looking into their drinks, and then suddenly looking up, or shaking their heads at some inner thought, or looking around as if to get away from some inner thought, or leafing through a book and putting their finger in the book and looking away and thinking. They were just incredibly active. And I realized they were having what we call in theater interior monologues. They were going through things in their heads that were obviously very difficult and deep and complex. And I wondered what those things were, what had brought them to this comparative stasis when one thought of the ebullient, public, social, creative, productive lives they had lived and inspired me to live. So I sat there watching them, and I suddenly realized, you see, I'm very stupid. I don't understand anything. And the only way that I come to understand anything is by writing a play about it. And the reason for that is this. When you write a play, it must be very richly detailed, or it won't make sense, it won't cohere. And the details must be accurate and fit together. They can't contradict each other or be incomplete or inaccurate, or the play won't work. So by the process of writing and rewriting plays about subjects that I really didn't understand to start with, I come to whatever small understanding I have of the subject. So I was watching these people, and I thought, but how could you write a play about people who are not relating, who are not connected with each other, who are simply sitting separately, undergoing some inner torment? And I just thought it couldn't be done, and I leaned back, and just then the bartender, who had very little to do, picked up a remote and pointed it at a TV set, which was hanging in a corner. And that was new too. There hadn't been a TV set in Phoebe's in its heyday. Now the sound was off, muted, but the picture was on, and he clicked through, and he went click, and there was a lion eating an antelope, and click, and there was the flashy grill of some elaborate, expensive car, and click, and there were people rioting, and click, there was an ad for something coming out of a spray can, and click back to the lion eating the antelope, or click to silly people waving their hands in a sitcom. And I suddenly realized that's it. That's the form of the play. We will click from one person's thoughts to the next, back, in all sorts of orders, thereby, with their stories running parallel in segments, we would see how their stories were alike and how they were different, to bring all of them to the same, to me, regrettable standstill. The play brought me a great many things, some good, some bad. It brought me, briefly, worldwide fame. It brought me physically to Montreal and Anchorage and Cape Town and Vienna and Caracas and all over the British Isles many times, and all over the United States. I visited dozens and dozens of productions. I made a great many new friends. I lost a great many old ones. I learned which, both old and new, were true friends and which false. In other words, I learned a lot of good things, and I learned a lot of things I'd rather not have known. I love the play, but above all, I love the people in it. They are people I love, and I respect them, and I admire them, and I have tremendous pity and compassion for their fates. I hope that you enjoy the play, but above all, I hope you come away with some sense of the reverence and respect that I have for these people. Again, I thank the producers for choosing the play to produce, and I thank you, out of all the things you could have chosen to see today, for choosing to see my play. I hope that it brings you pleasure.